Hello and welcome to your Human Design Masterclass on the 5 different human design types. My name is Sabine Messner and you are receiving this as a bonus because you have signed up for a human design soul reading with me. And I so want to thank you for that privilege. I recognize that there are many human design readers out there, people that have possibly a lot more information from a technical level about human design. The advantage that, however, I know I can bring to your upcoming reading is the fact that I've always been all my life a soul seer. And I've always had an ability to sort of not only recognize the multidimensional soul soul ability and soul quality, but also to activate, that in others and to help others to really peek through the veils, go through the veils, see that greater potential and really support them in lifting off. And that is the unique power of getting not only a human design reading, but a human design soul reading. I'm using the human design blueprint and architecture, if you so will, to sort of go into that being potentiality that you are and help you to really activate that to the greatest potential. And so that we can take it even further in the human design private one-on-one reading, I wanted to give you these 2 masterclasses up front because they're going to sort of lay the groundwork so that when I talk about your unique type, and then also in masterclass 2, your unique frequency combination, you are already able to relate to this information so much better because you have had these masterclasses and you are able to sort of take this information even deeper and further. So this first masterclass is on the 5 different types, and as I'm recording this, it's a beautiful, peaceful Sunday afternoon. I've got my little aroma essence lamp going, a candle. I'm so joyous and happy to dive into this content with you, and I hope that you can sort of find a time in your busy lives where you can just do the same, kind of lean back a little bit. Maybe it's an evening for you on a weeknight, or maybe you are taking a bath, or maybe you are listening to this on your headset while you're going for a walk with your dog. So if you want to just sort of tune in right now and take a moment, is this the right time for you to actually take this information in? And if it's not the right time, then why don't you just create a little opening for when it is the right time and you can really literally receive this information. So many times what happens with the human design transmissions is that people really approach it way too intellectually, like this is some sort of information that they have to learn. And it's not about that at all. It's about looking into the mirror. And it only works when you actually really start to look, right? So looking into the mirror of yourself requires time and awareness and energy. And so, it's not like a homework, right? That you have to do. So get yourself definitely in the right time frame so that this transmission that I am here to bring you really lands on that fruitful soil. All right. So with all this said, you are now leaning back and are just completely hearing something that will just make you go like, I get it. This makes so much sense, right? So what I have done here, and I hope I can show you this here, is I have used my whiteboard to write this all down. So we have 5 different human design types. We have the generators, and manifesting generators are lumped into the generator statistic. We have projectors, we have manifestors, and we have reflectors. And almost 70% of the world population, 67%, are generator types. So I'm a manifesting generator. I get lumped into that statistics. So we are generator types. We actually are the ones that are giving the life force energy. We're sort of the builders and the people that are sort of, you know, bringing that sort of like, yeah, creation energy, right, to the table. Let's do this. Let's make this happen. That's the generator energy, because, you know, what defines the generators, including the manifesting generators, is that they have that second chakra defined. And the second chakra is, of course, you know, also where the goddess energy comes through. This is where the divine feminine comes through. It's the womb energy. It's the creation energy. It's life force energy. And it's really here to sort of bring freedom and expression, right? Creativity out into the world, you know. Of course, it includes also pleasure, sexuality. But when you really look at like sexuality, intimacy, and all of the good yummies that we have in the second chakra, it's all about creativity, right? Even making babies, creating loves and partnership is a form of creative expression. So that's what the majority of the humans in this current sort of like iteration that we're in are 70% generator types. It wasn't always that way, and I'll explain to you in a moment, you know, what's so fascinating about that. But let's just first take a look at like what we are looking at right now. We have about 22% of the world population in the projector design. And right off the get-go, you can see, wow, that is, that's basically, you know, 1/3, you know, in quote unquote against 2/3. So the projectors are definitely in the minority, but even more so are the manifestors with 9.5% in the world population. And then we only have 1.5% reflectors, right? Less than 2%. So if you were to, at any given time, when you have like, say, 200 people in the room, you know, would ask them and give them that information, how many generator or generator types do we have? And let's move them all into one corner. And how many projectors do we have? That's about, you know, so it's about 2/3 of the room goes into the generator corner. You know, a handful of projectors are over there. Less than that are the manifestors. You know, maybe there's just maybe a couple dozen projectors, a handful of manifestors, and then if we are lucky, usually there is one reflector, and that reflector usually comes in and out of the room, doesn't really want to necessarily be there, may have regrets that he or she even signed up in the first place. Reflectors are really here to, they're almost like comets. They're spiritual comets. I think of them as satellites, to be honest with you, spiritual comets, spiritual satellites. I think of them as probes, consciousness. These are probes of the consciousness that is sending sort of like, you know, humans out to sort of like gauge, like what is actually going on? How are we doing? Are we doing good? Are we doing bad? You know, in all of the sort of like gray zones that we have in between white and black, you know, all the many shades of gray, like where are we at? That's what really interests a reflector. It's like, what is this all about? What are we doing here? What's going on, right? And so they're probing and sampling and testing things out, and it's just so difficult for them, and almost like borderline impossible to sort of ever feel part of something, because even if they feel aligned temporarily, they're never going to be fully part of. And I think that can be such a revelation, revealing and such a revelation when they finally realize that, oh my God, I don't have to fake it anymore. I don't need to pretend to myself or fault myself if I don't ever really feel part of, because I'm not supposed to be part of. I'm sort of like mirroring humanity back to itself. And that's really what the reflectors are here to do, is that they are here to really be those divine reflectors, right? They're reflecting back to us who we are, what this is all about, the divine sort of like, you know, sort of maze game, the training camp that Earth is, all of those various levels through which you can see and perceive reality and reality creation. That's what the reflectors are here to really provide. And I always think of them also as really very, very, very divine sort of beings. I mean, they're more energy than they are actually material body. And in that sense, they could be really the most powerful of all of the types, because they have 0 defined energy centers and no defined channels. So they have the 9 energy centers in the human design, but they are not here to generate any other energy. They are literally fueled by source and or the environment, other people, where they live, you know, the belief systems that they're plugged into. But when a reflector becomes aware that, oh my God, I'm a pure vessel, I have no definition, I have no agenda, I can actually be pure source, I can hold source in its purest form, you know, they can really be the most effective, the most powerful, and the most sort of charismatic souls that are currently sort of like in body vehicles. So, you know, when I have the privilege to read for a reflector, that's kind of like the lens through which I look. I look at them as one of the purest forms of creator gods, as well as I also look at them as very sensitive and you know, sort of, well, sensitive is the right word, very sensitive, highly fine-tuned reflectors, divine mirrors of our world. Starting with the reflectors, you know, from the calculations that we have done in the human design school, we can go back to Atlantis and even very ancient civilizations here on the planet that we you know, sort of may even call as myth versus history. There is a very, very good chance that we were 70% reflectors then. So this idea that we're basically generators as humans is a fairly modern one, a fairly recent one. I believe that for the hundreds of thousands of years that we've had humanity here on this planet, or maybe even longer, my intuition tells me that we were primarily reflectors, because we were reflecting divinity back to itself, and only in more recent sort of incarnations of humanity has that changed. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. So how do we go through this? I want to just sort of like show you guys kind of like different characteristics that come with your type. So let's carry on with the reflectors. So the reflector energy, these 3 areas here, all energy sort of categories, feels resistant, and they're here to probe and sample, right? So I hope you can see that. I'm going to see if I can take you a little bit closer to my writing, if you can see this here. And let's see, I'm going to leave that here. And I hope you can see that. And then, so the energy of the aura, the energy field of a reflector literally looks very much like a starburst. That's what the energy field looks like. And that's also the most effective strategy if a reflector feels like they're completely sort of like you know, bombarded by outside energy and outside other people's energies and influences and so on and so forth, that's also really the best way for them to sort of like reset themselves, reset their space, is to just close their eyes and just sort of like see themselves as this pure starlight. And then they're back in source, and now they can beam and radiate their light and move forward in a much more productive way, in a much healthier way for them. Their strategy is to wait an entire moon cycle, because they don't have any defined energy centers for them to sort of mulch agendas through, because they're constantly bombarded by other people's agendas, society's agendas, you know, the workplace, what have you. Everything is kind of like sort of coming in, you know, with sort of like a motoric energy, right? And so for them to really figure out what is truly their motivation and their drive, they have to mulch that through, and for this sort of filter process to really be the most, you know, robust for them, it's really beneficial if they just, for the big decisions, wait an entire moon cycle. And yes, it does have to do with the moon. What's awesome about the reflector design is the, you know, the component of surprise, because it's like this sort of like, I'm testing, I'm probing, I'm sampling, I'm not so sure, I don't make a decision just yet, I'll check it out. Isn't this evident that also then these like wonderful sort of spontaneous things happen? Because even a little probe, a little question that a reflector can place into the room, a little poke, a little nudge, a little, you know, tip on the shoulder, you know, can sort of raise an eyebrow or make people wonder. And it's a little bit also like how the divine and our guardian angels, our guides, or our spiritual team, you know, many refer to their you know, spiritual supporting as their team, you know, sort of corresponds with them. It's very similar, like the reflectors are sort of like also kind of interacting with us. Hey, do you get this? Did you get the memo? You know? So the moment of surprise plays a really big role in their lives. So if you are a reflector and you feel like super heavy and nothing's ever worked and you just want to withdraw more and more, play a little bit more, let yourself be surprised. Your life is much less defined than you think it is. and we want to sort of like, you know, we want to keep you as happy and alive and as active as possible. So don't let yourself get too, you know, dragged down into some sort of daily routine. Help yourself through the, you know, the metaphor of surprise. The emotional response is disappointment. Reflectors, you know, feel ignored. That's natural. If you don't feel part of, you don't feel included, so you may often feel sort of overlooked and ignored. And their main question here is, and I don't know if you can see this, and their main question here is, who is the other? Who is different? Like, how are we different, right? Like, what's happening? What's going on? Like, that's the energy, right? So it really is sort of like very much centered around this gauging, testing, probing, gauging. How are we different? Who are you? Who am I? And only the answers will only come in that kind of like exchange, right? So their ultimate, you know, energy that really works the best for them is peace. Just finding peace, because making it sometimes just through a day is such an energetic ordeal and such a big thing for them, that just having that peace and peace of mind is so crucial. So I hope this kind of gives you a sense of how this type sort of like navigates, how this type sort of responds to the world, what its purpose is, what the emotional coding looks like, what the strategy is. and then ultimately also what the vibration is that they can bring to themselves to raise their vibration. So my tip for reflectors is bring peace to the table, use the moment of the element of surprise. You know, really understand that it's difficult for you to know what is your energy and what is other people's energy. So just sort of like lean back a little bit, let that all reveal itself to you. You know, you don't have to be so driven to make all of these decisions. Let that just sort of like happen, and you'll be beautifully guided, and you'll also be able to really guide and influence, you know, the world at large. And having started with, you know, the 1.5% of the world population, I think lets you also experience your type in contrast, because we're moving kind of backwards to the majority. So our next amazing types, and some of my all-time favorite people on the planet, are manifestors. Manifestors are so, I mean, just like how the reflector is almost like a selfless design, the manifestors are equally amazing and powerful, and to me also very endearing, and really truly also selfless. They're really here to power, you know, the community. I mean, it is kind of said that a manifestor is almost like a bit of a sort of a magnet, right? So their energy field looks very much like this, kind of like a disc, like this, right? Like a disc that is sort of sitting on the ground, and it's totally enclosed. Can you see that? And that's what their energy feels like. And there can even be some pricklies, some sort of like, you know, like a cactus, like some pricklies on top, because they are holding such a charge. It's such a power energy, and it's such a strong magnetic energy that they're holding. And their whole identity is very much like, I'm inside of this energy, and it's like this, right? And it's like a nuclear reactor or something. It's a very, very powerful energy that they're bringing forth through their body vehicle. And it can feel repelling to their environment when you are, you know, a manifestor, or you have the knowledge about other, you know, family members or friends being manifestors. You totally know what I'm saying, right? They're very intense, so they can come in a room and already sort of like, as they're coming into a room, some people have to sort of like give them more space, because their field is so strong and powerful. Being a manifesting generator, which basically means I'm this and this, I know that I have sometimes that impact on others, and I don't mean to. I'm just entering the room. It's not like I have sort of like, you know, an evil agenda, and I can be overpowering just by being me and just saying, hi, how are you all doing? You know? So it is quite something to be a manifestor in that pure way, because why do they have such a powerful energy? You know, what's the purpose here? And of course it is for the community. So manifestors are really, really here to sort of be that energy that powers causes, missions, communities. And it is so, so hard for them, because they feel so rejected and not part of, in a different way than the reflectors, right? So for them, it's very, very often the case that they feel a lot of anger, because they just feel this power that needs to be utilized. How can it be utilized? People don't get what they're capable of and what they're here to do. The generators are so busy generating stuff, and because they're currently in the majority, they sort of like, in quote unquote, control what's happening and what's not happening. And for the manifestors, it's always like everything is already done. They are collapsing the timeline. So the future, the present, and the past, it's all already done. And that's what they're holding in that charge. It's like, done, right? And they're like, what the heck is going on? Why is it taking people so long to get on with the program, right? Or vice versa. Sometimes these manifestations that they're cooking out, that they're sort of literally like sort of incubating in their own energy, you know, takes 3-4 years. Is like, for my own life, I can kind of sort of see that these like 3 to 5 years sort of like incubation cycles is kind of like how I roll with the bigger creations, right? A manifestation cycle can also be very intense for a couple months, and then it becomes sort of something that we're releasing into the world. But these, when I go into a manifestation phase, I too have almost like an emotional mood swing. I don't want to be with people. You know, I'm no longer that extrovert. You know, I'm more introvert. I'm more protective of my energy. So when people say, "Hey, can I come over?" I'm like, no. no, I really need my own space right now. You know, so that's the manifestation energy. It just is that way. But when you really understand people and don't judge them and don't put more pressure onto them in form of like social expectations or shaming them for like not being social or not being kind or not being patient, you know, these people, it's just like, these are the ultimate energy givers. I mean, they do everything to power you on your path to purpose if you give them a chance. I mean, they are so amazing, and I really want to put a big sort of like plug out for the manifestors, because I know how socially awkward and hard it is for manifestors, because they're so powerful and so intense. And that's why it's very important, if you are a manifestor, here is your strategy. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Don't just kind of bottle it all in and keep it all inside of yourself and sort of keep it sort of, you know, zipped because you're going to just implode. So just always make sure that you're telling other people that you are going through a massive sort of inner earthquake, right? And there are going to be things that are going to be flying around, including frying pans and dishes and glasses and plates. Because oftentimes manifestors, when they really come out and they have been feeling very repressed, and sometimes this goes on for decades, you know, yes, frying pans and plates and dishes may be flying. I'm speaking in metaphorical terms. It's not that these people are aggressive. It's just that anger as an emotion is a repressed creation energy, right? Do you get that? And so what makes them a manifestor is that they have that defined throat chakra. And so what that means is that it's so important that they need to be heard. It's so important that they have a voice, because that is the manifestation energy, right? And oftentimes they feel that they're anything but in control. So this whole idea around manifestors not being able to just bring their power into the community lets them ultimately feel the ultimate sort of victim feeling, and that's where this anger is coming from. And that's why it's so important for manifestors to just understand this dynamic, which mostly affects all of your relationships, from marriages to your career relationships to your client relationships, parents, family. It always comes down to, like, you know, manifestors feeling controlled, right? And the environment not really understanding, you know, what to do with them. You know, like how do we utilize this energy? It's like so much, like it's so intense. Like let's just keep them in the corner there. And there's also sometimes this feeling of manifestors, and that is like feeling taken for granted. They do feel that oftentimes that they're taken for granted. And I believe that they're entitled to feel that, because even if a manifestor is ignored, even if a manifestor does not get the proper recognition, the manifestor energy actually really is a real magnet, sort of magnet energy that is powering their environment. So people that are around a manifestor usually thrive or do really well. If they have health issues, they get better. They may be doing really, really well financially, So if a manifestor has an intention, let's say they want to get wealthy or healthy or find their love or something like that, watch the environment of a manifestor, and you're going to see that all the people that, are sort of synced up and around a manifestor have whatever their intention is. And they themselves oftentimes don't get it so easily. It's a very, very weird thing. And so, yes, they sometimes feel totally, taken for granted, because it's like everybody's getting what I want, and what about me, right? So again, manifestors, inform your environment and your loved ones before acting, certainly before acting out. 3 warnings, okay? 3 warnings before the frying pans come out of the kitchen closet. And then the strategy for you is to lead. And guess what? Preferably alone. So it's like, who cares? I'm doing this now, and whoever wants to be on board can come on board. There is that sort of step, make the leap, take the step, right? But I'm going places now. Who cares, right? That's a very, very freeing energy for the manifestor. And then all of a sudden, this very positive energy comes out, and everybody wants to be part of it because it's so vivacious and so powerful, right? So dare to lead. Don't wait for other people to give you permission. And then the big question here for the manifestor is like, who do I actually want to impact? This is like so fascinating. The manifestors always run into a ton of resistance with their environment. And sooner or later, they have to ask themselves, am I in the right environment, right? Is this environment recognizing me, appreciating me, giving me a chance to actually be in my power and to power my community, my environment? Or is this environment just completely just here to sort of keep me sort of contained and controlled, right? So that I can grow even bigger and bigger. Of course, that serves the purpose too. You realize that, right? But what's the purpose here, right? So ultimately, every manifestor comes to this sort of decision point. Who am I really here to serve and empower? What is my real community? And when you come to that decision and you really follow that, and you just inform your environment and you say like, look, I'm moving on, and I really want to impact people now that are honoring me, that are loving on me, and that I can really feel like I'm being utilized in the best and greatest way, then they have such an amazing life. So don't be afraid to lead alone. Ask yourself, who do I impact? And what you really want out of this whole thing the most is freedom. Freedom. So if you feel controlled and have anger issue, and you're just about ready to sort of, call it quits or something, right? Then bring freedom into your present time, make those productive changes. And then, like I said, for everyone else who knows a manifestor, loves a manifestor, give them a lot of freedom, give them a lot of free range, like give them a lot of, don't have them on leash, don't control them, don't tell them what to do. You can never tell a manifestor what to do. and just stay aligned with them, help them get super powerful, awesome intentions, because every time a manifestor gets what they really, really want, the whole environment gets what they want. You know, it's like a medicine man that sits in the tipi tent in the center of the village, and the medicine man has this journey and has all these, you know, omens and insights, and it's sort of working it all out inside of their space. And now they've seen the path to the future, to the healed vision, right? And now they're sort of manifesting that through this entire field, this entire, you know, village is healed when a manifestor gets to really process this whole thing out. So support manifestors in that way, by helping them to really dream big, to go for their intentions, to have their needs met, because everybody always benefits when the manifestors are happy. Okay? So, loving on the manifestors, 9.5% of the world population. Now, let's talk about the projectors. About 22% of the world population. And here's what I want you to know about the projectors. They're here from the future. Seriously, they're here from the future. Not everybody comes from the same place. And some people, some souls have come as almost like messengers from the future that we have contracted with, that we would like to actually experience. So imagine this way. So here's our present time reality, right? We're creating over here, and there are these like guides that are coming from the future, and they're coming into this like reality creation that's happening over here. And they're basically saying like, dude, dudettes, if you want to go over here, we got to make a right turn now, right? Because otherwise we're not going to be over there. We're going to be over here. And last time I checked, I heard you say, you don't want to be over there. You need to be over there. So they're sort of like the ideal sort of like guys that are navigating this whole sort of reality creation to the most beneficial and attractive future, right? And you know, that's really their job, is that they want to sort of be the CEOs and the guides of society. So the way I see this is, you know, I always picture a ship out in the ocean, and a ship that has, you know, in the machine room inside, where all the different layers are, where the majority of, you know, the world basically, you know, lives. There's the kitchen, there's the different decks, you know, there's the dining room, there's the machine rooms, there's all the different facility rooms and all of that stuff. There's many different levels of, you know, organisms and activities and things like that, right, in that ship belly. And this is where the manifesting generators and the generators are, you know, they're all in the ship belly, doing their thing, right? Up and down the elevator, ding, ding, ding. You need this, I need that, I give you this. Is that ready? Because we need it for consumption over there, you know. All that sort of like jazz, you know, goes up in the belly of that ship. But where is the ship going? Like, what's the purpose? Why are we here? Like, what's happening, you know? Why are we all so busy serving up these meals and then recycling things and rising up to then getting to the next elevator level, you know? Like, what is this whole, you know, thing about? The CEOs, the captain of the ship is not inside the belly. The captain of the ship is on the deck, but he's also not in the front, he's on the back. So if this is a big ship, right, the captain is all the way in the back because he has the biggest overview, right, you know, over the whole, not only over the whole ship, but also the whole horizon. And that's really the position for the projectors. They're really in the ultimate leadership position, more so than the manifestors. The manifestors need to just follow their intuition. They need to first and foremost get a good intuition, get a good intention, and then follow that, right? It's all about their manifestation on their own timing, non-control timing, their own timing when they're ready, and only they know when they're ready. And then they follow their intuition and they put it out there. That's it. The projectors are really truly the leaders of our society because they're sort of like always in the back of the room. So back to this example of here's sort of like a room of 200 people. Where are the projectors? Well, they're not sitting front row. But front rows, guess who's in the front row? The generators would be in the front row. Gimme, gimme, gimme. I need more information. I need more clarity, clarity, clarity. Clarity is the favorite word for generators. They're always looking for clarity. I'll give you a big, big, big piece of wisdom when we talk about the generators in just a moment, but hold that thought. Generators are in the front, right? That energy. Where would we find the projectors? In the back of the room. All right. A little bored maybe occasionally. It's like, okay, I don't know. Is this really what I want? Are they gonna get it this time? It's that energy. It's like wisdom energy. It can be humble. It's very loving, very caring. They want to help. They want to guide more than you know. And we're all so busy that, break happens and we're like storming out, right past them, to the hallways where we have networking to do with important people. And the projectors are standing right there and going, yeah. Here we go again, another event where, I'm in quote unquote not invited in. So you've heard that if you have already received your design as a projector, the waiting for the invitation. Firstly, the term waiting from a language perspective is very, very, very misleading. If I were you, I would change that word waiting and really not take it so literally, because I've run in one too many projectors that is basically trying to convince me that they can't make money, they can't market, and their message is not getting out there apparently because they have to wait for an invitation. I'm like, you're the CEO, you're the leader of society, and you can't make money and you don't have enough energy to sort of get your message out there because you think you have to wait for an invitation. That's a misunderstanding. Let me explain. What that means is that you do not tell people, hey, you need to hire me, or hey, you need to sign up for my service. But nobody's going to invite you. Nobody is going to invite you. Nobody's going, in quote unquote, to recognize you unless you stop broadcasting and projecting. So instead of like sitting around becoming more and more and more depressed and doubtful and bitter and bitter and more bitter and more bitter and more broke, by the way, money and success go hand in hand there because you think you have to wait for an invitation. The strategy is project. Be a projector. If you're in the back of the room, then all right, get a microphone and say, I'm here in the back of the room. We have solutions here. That because people are so busy and so preoccupied because you ask all the wrong questions and you're not available for the right answers. For those of you who are interested in the solutions and answers that I have, I'm going to be outside here by my booth or at the table, or you can find me at www. You can just let people know that you exist and that you have powerful solutions. And then they invite themselves. So this whole thing about waiting for the invitation renders so many projectors passive. And that is so not how I understand it to be. It just means that You can't make it happen. You make yourself available, but so many times and time again, people don't notice you. And so then, it becomes this sort of, challenge with time, like wasted time, wasted energy, and years, sort of wither away. And the impact could have been so much bigger and so much greater if you would have actually projected. So the strategy for projectors is just stop publishing your books or speak about it. Just go out and project the vision. The energy of the projector is like this. See? That's the energy. And that's the projector field. So they really have that eye, that vision, right? They're holding the vision for the future liberally. And if they're sitting idle, which is where a lot of people are because they've taken this way too literally, like waiting for the invitation, then you're sitting here and your projection is unclear. And the more bitter you are, the more healing you have to do, and the less people will invite you. So don't let that happen. What the idea is for the projector is that you start to really beam that light out there. You just really are concerned with the vision. You speak into the vision. You carry the vision. You become a visionary entrepreneur. Visionary entrepreneur. It's none of your business how this gets executed. That would be something that the generators are coming in. They're coming into your underbelly. You hold the vision, and the generators are coming into your underbelly and helping you to engineer it out. They say, hey, projector, we don't see so clearly, but you obviously have the vision. How can we support you? The generators will not do that because they're so busy generating and running around like a chicken with their head cut off. If you don't bring them a compelling, projection that they can sort of like then invite you into. Does that make sense? Or you invite them into your projection in which way. But my point here is that this, I would love to sort of really invite you to change that a little bit so that it does not turn into something disempowering and sort of, something disempowering and something sad here. Because here's the thing, projectors have have success. Here's the difference. Generators, which is basically almost 2/3 of the world population, think they want success, but what they really want is satisfaction. We will talk about that, big difference. We will talk about that when I actually cover the generators. But if a projector is not successful, it's a real problem. It's a real problem. A generator, it's different. You think you need success? No, you just need to feel good about what you do. That's easier achieved. That is easier achieved. This only happens when you are helping the people and are guiding, them into the future, because that's why you're here. You're missing the point of incarnation, right? If you don't get to that place, that is what success is to a projector, is to lead and guide. Projectors love to do this one-on-one. So they really, really love to have that intimacy. I see this over and over again. It's also oftentimes very natural for projectors to start with the one-on-one and then build it from there, or grow it from there. But there is really this tendency of almost being sort of that guide for a handful of people, or that having that one-on-one intimacy and that one-on-one feedback of like, I have course-corrected a life. I have changed a person's life. Hallelujah. For them, the whole question is not about who am I, they know who they are. I have yet to talk to a projector who does not know who they really truly are. And the only sadness that they have is that most people don't see that. Most people just don't recognize how wonderful they are. And that is really sad, right? That is really, really sad. So they know who they are. They know they're cut from a wonderful divine cloth. For them, it's like, who are you? And that question is asked from this perspective of like, who do you want to become? Who do you want to be, you know, when you grow up? That's the job of a projector. Stewards, guides, mentors, teachers, natural authorities, compassionate angels, earth angels, beautiful souls. Wow, the projectors. Oh, it's just so wonderful. So come out from hiding, claim your success. The world needs you very, very much. That is the truth, right? So if you find yourself, you're stuck with no projection and you're losing touch more and more and more with your own projection, no bueno, okay? Talk to me. I'll whip you into shape. So that you don't feel managed. Oh, I should also say, they feel managed. They have an issue with authority, projectors. So different from the feeling of control with manifestors, right? The manifestors are feeling like, how do I control this energy? And you know, you don't tell me what I need to do, right? That's like a whole different energy. The projectors feel managed because they feel that they're in a world that they can't really fully impact, right? But they know that they need to impact it from that higher source perspective. Very, very different from the the manifestor feeling controlled, managed. And for them, the sort of the outcome here is be their own authority, being their own authority, not having anybody sort of like tell them what they can or cannot do. It's different from the manifestor. I'm trying to find the right words here, but I think you get what I'm saying, right? Guide, leading on your own and guiding people is really where the primary difference is. They do feel both oftentimes misunderstood and not seen. Manifestors feel more rejected because the energy is closed and repelling. The projector energy is focused and absorbing. And so they don't feel the same sort of like rejection like the manifestor feels, but nevertheless, they also don't feel part of. Okay, I hope this clarifies this. And in closing, we're now looking finally at the 2/3 of the world population, generators and manifesting generators. Isn't this interesting? Isn't this interesting? And because we are in the majority, I'm a manifesting generator, right? We're in the majority, I really wanted us to hear first about the other people, because there's a good chance that we assume that everybody is like we are. In fact, even though statistically the manifesting generators are lumped into this column of the generators, we are actually our own sort of breed, if you so will. So let me first talk about the pure generators, and then in my sort of grande finale, I'll touch base on the manifesting generators, because we're really, really, truly something different altogether. Okay, so generators, 67% of the world population. Our energy is open and enveloping. Did I say this correctly? Enveloping? Okay, so it's like this. Isn't that attractive? It's a nice spiral there, right? You can see that. So yeah, we have been told that we need to wait to respond, because we have that, defined second chakra, and so we need to do that. Let the, environment give us something to respond, and then we respond with our gut response, right? Yeah, no, maybe. that is really the most sort of like bulletproof design, if you really think of all of the different designs and the challenges that come with them. You know, God bless the generators, because it's a really, really bulletproof design. Think of it this way. If you would be God and you would be creating these beautiful humans that go on these like Mission Impossibles, right? Mission Impossible. They go on Mission Impossible. Well, would you tell them then, hey brother, hey bro, I'm going to send you on Mission Impossible? Would you do that to them? Would they go? You wouldn't say that, and they wouldn't want to go. They would say like, no, you know what? I thought about it. I'd rather stay with you in heaven. I like it up there. I don't want to come down here. And it just sounds like too much density, too much war, too much crazy stuff. I really don't think so. So firstly, you give them a little bit of a oblivion. you keep things hidden from them so that they don't see the full picture, because if they were to see the full picture, they would be like, oh my God, I'm a harakiri, soldier. So you wouldn't tell them everything. And you also would design them in such a way where they cannot mess it up. Like, you wouldn't give them the whole vision, and you wouldn't give them the ability to sort of like contain the bigger picture, so that they are just more focused on goal-oriented execution. Just like the GPS. So you punch in, I want to go from San Francisco to New York City. Well, you're not going to punch in there that there may be floods and accidents and traffic things, and you may be running out of gas, and the whole journey to travel from this point A to point B, is so full of unexpected things and challenges and dangers and risks and beautiful things and chance encounters and new friends that you've met along the way. So all these wonderful things that make it so rich, and all these things that could make it also sort of like a trip, to hell. You wouldn't really put all of that information into their brains, right? You wouldn't do that. You would just basically say like, look, it's super simple. We will tell you when you have to make a right turn, and we will tell you when you have to make a left turn. So just always follow your gut response, right? And you know now what a yes is, and you know what a no is. And all you need to do is like, use the yes and the no as a strategy. Yes, no, not yet. The not yet or the is a no. So it's yes, no, left, right, forward, backwards, whatever. You just navigate like that. And I mean, I make it sound a little bit, simplistic here, but what I have really seen in talking to generators is that they always run around wanting to have these big answers, and for mostly who they are. And they are the ones that are investing the most into quote-unquote purpose activation, purpose information. Most of my clients are generators. And what I have seen over and over and over again is that there is this doubt around the purpose information. So you can give a generator a ton of purpose information, and it's exactly that. It's like a library, a bookshelf, this, that, and the other. I've had this reading, I've had that astrology report. You research all these things about the human design, but you don't live it. You're just sort of like, can I trust this? Can I do this? Is this? And the big thing for the generators always is clarity. Like clarity. Like, what is clarity? Clarity is neither purpose nor is it, really anything else. Clarity is just like in the moment making the right decision, right? I mean, isn't that what clarity is? But there's so many generators right now that are so confused and disoriented and startled and are sitting in idle, which, by the way, is the most unhealthiest thing that a generator can possibly do is to sit idle, because it's like this creation engine, right, that is running 24/7, 24/7, 24/7, 24/7. And now you're basically in the brain saying like, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Can somebody tell me what to do? Tell me who, what I need to do and I'll do it. Tell me what I need to do and I'll do it. Tell me what I need to do and I'll do it. That's the energy of the generator. And like you're sitting idle and you're like, I don't know what to do. Should I do this? Should I do that? That is not a good energy to be in for a long time, because it literally burn you out. So many generators are right now in that chronic burnout. As a society, we are in that chronic burnout. And why is that? Because see, the generators are plugging in these visions. Okay, it could be corporate America, it could be a belief system, it could be a religion, it could be a generational blueprint, like the baby boomers, the millennials, it could be a blueprint like I'm a gay woman, or I'm a black, underprivileged, man, or whatever, like whatever sort of identity, cultural blueprint you may be sort of been plugged in. That is actually what has given you sort of like this sort of like world to navigate in, to drive your design in, right? And that is now changing. We are at an enormous sort of like crossroad where basically everything gets outed as a belief system, whether that is economical, whether that is political, socio-political, geographical. I mean, like all of those things are actually really, when we really look at them, things that we have come to believe or taken as reality. And this whole debate around what is the truth? Is it the fake? Is it fake news, real news, partially new news? And basically where this is all going is that we create our own reality. This is the only possible outcome where this can go, because I mean there is no way back to like the real news station, the real news. There never was just the real news. There was always only the news that we were given, or the news that we were able to hear, or the news that we were able to understand. You see what I'm saying? We have now been given choices and free will. Have you noticed? And boy, does this free will thing mess up the generators. It's like, oh my God, we're the soldier design, and we're so designed to sort of like have somebody tell us what we need to do. And now there are all these conflicting voices, and I don't know anymore what's what and where I should be plugging in, right? And I don't want to say that generators are just soldiers, but there is something very bulletproof and very sort of basic to it. And when you look at humanity, what do we really want? We want basic things. And there isn't anything wrong with that. In fact, that's one of the self-hatred programs that the generators have also subscribed to, right? That there is something inherently wrong with them. And I'm here to tell you there isn't anything wrong with you. And all of these other types are gathering around you. The generators, you are currently Project Humanity. Yes. And humanity has been enslaved. Yeah. That's a real newsflash, right? That's why it's not a surprise that the generators suffer the most and feel the most enslaved. This is worse than feeling controlled. Nobody can enslave a manifester. They're going to blow up the whole thing. That is not possible because it's almost uncontainable energy. It's pure creation energy. But the generators truly feel enslaved. And that is an intense feeling when you really feel like, it's not like you feel Controlled is like you feel completely out of control. Does that make sense? That's the difference. And that's the tragedy and the opportunity right now that we have in the world for the generators to wake up. That's what all these new cosmic energies are coming in. All these, you know, and you've been hearing about, like, we're moving from 3D to 5D, and currently we are in 4D. It's like, it's very, very disturbing. And the generators go like, well, this used to work and that doesn't work anymore. Like, where do I plug in, right? What's happening? How do I navigate from here to over there, right? I don't even get a clear yes anymore. Find more projectors, find manifestors, orient yourself not with other generators unless you already know where you need to plug in. Does that make sense? If you are in the washer dryer cycle right now of this evolutionary becoming undone and finding your new sort of like way of operating in the world, find a projector. They know what's going on. They're going to help you get you on the right path. Find a manifestor. They give you the power, they give you the sustainability, they give you the fuel. And if you have a reflector, then let the reflector tell you the truth about your own energy. And if you want to clean up the world, let's clean up, you know, our own energy, right? That's basically what I would say to that. Change your environment. Don't run around asking the same questions. Right? Does that make sense? Don't be so robotic in your sort of panic around, like, who am I? What am I here to do? I don't really know what I need to do. Tell me what I need to do. You know, you're really burning everybody out. You need to get over that, and also over the idea that there is ever such a thing, then the one and only purpose information that, you know, puts the light on. It may never really fully happen. You may just have to trust your own design more than all of the other ones. You need to be in motion. You need to have that momentum and move forward with joy and pride. And that's what gives you the clarity, is not to have that sort of like intellectual understanding and sitting idle. That will never give you clarity. That will sure as hell burn you out. You're going to fry yourself and your nervous system on top of it. So stop doing that. Generators, please just stop. Stop for a moment, reset, and then find a way to create momentum by trusting your next step. That's how the clarity creates itself. Otherwise, clarity is schmerity. It means nothing, and it will just drive you crazy, okay? That was my little spiel for the generators. Because here's the thing. You're supposed to work and build this whole thing. Earth needs to be rebuilt, right? Would you agree with that? We need to rebuild a bunch of things here, right? Things are no longer working. If you get stuck in what's no longer working, you're not actually productive. You're not helping the world to sort of rebuild itself, right? You're here to work with groups to galvanize the momentum, to make it happen. These people need you. These people need you. They're all here for you. They want to power you. Give them opportunity to support you. Give them opportunity to power you and to shine the light onto the future. That's the idea. We need to do this together, right? All of these designs are destined to sort of fail if they're on their own, right? When we come together and we understand how we're supposed to work together and collaborate together, then and only then can we really enjoy our design, our individual design to the fullest, but also benefit all the other wonderful humans that we're surrounded with, right? That's the idea. So change community, create community, get those projectors, get those manifestors into your life, because here's the thing. You're here to remember, who am I? Who am I? And there is no intellectual knowledge that will ever give you this. Who am I is in the moment, the experience, and you're here for that. Remember who you are. Remember who you are, right? That's the idea. Who am I? And for you, it's all about love what you do. Love what you do. That's the bottom line. It's not success. Success is the blueprint, belief system, sort of cookie cutter version. So many generators have gone for the success because they thought that's what they wanted. The fame and the money and the Oprah and the this and the that. Only to find out at the end of the day, it's like, crap, you know? What about me? I still don't know who I am. Why am I here? What's going on? That is the worst feeling for a generator, is to come back to that square one. Sitting in the mansion with the SUV in the garage, with all the things, all the trappings, and then going like, I still don't know who I am. That is not the point. That is, don't go for that type of success. Always go for fulfillment, for satisfaction, fulfillment. And more than everything, more than anything else, love what you do, and that gives you the love for yourself. It's like loving yourself, so you love what you do, loving what you do so you can love yourself more. Self-love, 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 self-care, self-love, self-love, self-care, self-love. You got it? So those are the 5 types. Of course, you know, the manifesting generator is the 5th type. And let me have a sip of water here as I'm now sharing about the manifesting generators. So the manifesting generators are more than just the sum of the generators and the manifestors. You know, it's just like a relationship is more than the sum of the 2 people that are coming together. They always talk about 3 sort of beings, right? They talk about partner 1, partner 2, and then relationship as the 3rd being. And that's exactly also how I think of the manifesting generators. So you have somewhat of a basic understanding of the 2 designs. Imagine how you have them on top of each other, right? I mean, seriously. So we manifesting generators, gosh, what can I say? I'm also the daughter of a manifesting generator. My dad was a generator. And we're really the only ones that not only can we manifest our own creations, but we generate them out. So we really autark in that way. I believe that we all came in as manifesting generators and we didn't want to leave anything to chance. We had like 1 or 2 lifetimes where, you know, we fell short. Somebody wasn't holding true to their bargain, right? They didn't give us exactly what we are supposed to get from them to make it happen, right? So this time we said, like, I'm not going to let that happen anymore, right? I'm coming in with my toolkit and my tool belt and my big guns, and I'm coming in blazing, right? So, and you all just kind of get on board or get out of the way, because, you know, in this lifetime, I see to it that I make it happen. And so manifesting generators are just, I mean, oh, you gotta love them. I mean, they live in their own universe. They just live in their own universe. They have more energy than anyone can shake a stick at, if that's even the correct saying. I may have just butchered that. Because here's the thing, manifestors they need to rest a lot, because just being a manifestor is so intense for them. They need a lot of naps. Seriously. Actually, projectors for that matter too. Both manifestors and projectors, they need to nap a lot. I don't know how manifesting generators are doing it, but the ones that I know, myself included, we don't have time to nap. we really just, if we're not generating, we're manifesting. And if we're not paying attention, sometimes the generating aspect already starts happening before the manifestation is complete. So for us, the key thing is that we need to understand that we have actually sort of like two sort of ways of operating in the world, right? One is more sort of like holding in, and it can come as a whole set of different emotions, right? And different moods even. And that's the manifestation phase. And then when we're sort of generating, we're all gung-ho about our, making it happen, right? Producing our own creation. And so as this is going on, like we're either, generating our own creation, busy doing that, or, we're busy sort of incubating, in which case many times we're a little less social and less accessible. So any which way, we really don't have a lot of time for distractions and other people. We're just so in our own world, and we're a whirlwind. We're a whirlwind. We're just a whirlwind, and gosh. I don't know what it's like for other people to be around manifesting generators. I know that sometimes my clients tell me that, well, certainly I accelerate everything for them, and they're always a little happy also when I put my focus temporarily on someone else. And then they have to sort of like sort it all through. It takes them usually a couple days or weeks, and then they come back and they get another Sabina dose. and then they go and make that happen. But man, we can achieve more in 6 months than other people in 6 years. It's a lot, and I think of a happy manifestor as such a wonderful blessing to the world. Because they're so autark, they're their own universe, right? They don't really need other people. Like a projector really needs a generator, right? Or a manifestor needs also generators, to sort of like, use their energy and whatnot. And manifesting generators don't really need other designs in that sort of existential way. I mean, it's we don't want to be alone, right? We want to be in partnership, obviously, but there is something really about this sovereignty that the manifesting generator already has. And contemplating on that as we're moving forward into, the Aquarian age, which is really the age of sovereignty, spiritual sovereignty, to be around sovereign people is an interesting practice. And for the manifesting generators themselves to sort of exercise their sovereignty, that's also really fascinating, right? Isn't it? So that's basically what I would say about manifesting generators, is that they're really here to make sure that they're doing a bang ass job, right? They're here to really get their money's worth from this incarnation. They're liberating themselves. They're leaving no stone unturned. They're extremely accelerated. They are overachievers. They're doing all of that, but they're really also here to demonstrate a potential of humanity, the human potential of what we can all achieve. That I think, is a huge inspiration to other people. And it can also be intimidating, and it can be scary, and it can be overwhelming, and all of the above, but they're definitely getting a big pat on the shoulder, certainly from me, for showing extra effort in this endeavor. And they really, really do deserve it. So if you know a manifesting generator, you know, sometimes the best thing that you can do to support them is just kind of let them just do their thing. Let them just roll through, be the whirlwind, and just roll through and love on them and appreciate them, because they bring a lot to the world. They bring a lot of facets and energy to the world. They're really a huge piece here in the interface, if you so will, between all these different types, because they're literally like sort of a hybrid that already has that complexity that we're all moving into as humans. I believe that the manifesting generators are the first prototypes of creator gods. And they've asked for a lot. They have to handle a lot. I mean, I myself, I have 7 energy centers. I have all 3 circuitries: the tribal, the logic, and the individual circuitry. Thank God I only have 4 channels, not more than 4. Thank God, but that's still a lot. That is still a lot. Yeah, so I'm a manifesting generator, 3-5. Me and Angelina Jolie. Seriously, very, very similar design. So there you have it. 9 children, lots of movies, being the actress, being your own movie directors, you know, being an ambassador for world peace, being, you know, I don't know what went on with Brad, but that was a little weird. But yeah, that gives you a sense of like the complexity of a person, you know, the complexity of a person. So yeah, a little compassion for manifesting generators. They're a handful, but they're very charismatic. And there is something about the world watching manifesting generators and really learning a ton from them, because they're sort of like learning from their own mistakes. They're an experiment in motion, right? Does that make sense? So my goodness, this was a super sort of extensive exploration of the different types. I really, really hope that you really, really, really got some big ahas from it, and that you also got excited to experiment with your design more, to not just have it be information, but actually something that you can live into. And then make sure that you also watch the other masterclass on the 6 different frequencies that are fueling this human design, or these 5 human design types. Okay, I can't wait for our human design soul reading. And with that, I'll call it a session. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.